Laura Higuera. Welcome to the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me.
I am overjoyed to speak with you today. We were connected via a mutual Instagram friend, Laura of Lifting the Mood, who I recently had on the show. And you ladies have the fitness world in common. And she just spoke so highly of your practice, the way in which you kind of educate others on movement, and you're a huge self development gal. So I was like, oh my gosh, right up my alley. We have to chat. So I'm super excited today to learn all about you and what you're doing.
Thank you. That's so sweet of you.
So I would love to, we'll just like take it back. We'll start from the beginning. I feel like every now and then people stumble into fitness, but it takes a rare few to stick with fitness and to certainly make it something that they spend a lot of time on and want to build a career around. So were you always active? Like, were you running around as a child and like engaging in sports and doing all the things, or did this kind of come to you later in life?
Well, I was definitely not running around as a child because I grew up in Colombia, and Colombia that was like the city I grew up in was not the kind of city. It's not like here that you can just, like go by yourself at the park or like stuff like that. So I was definitely not running around in the street. Um, but when I was young, I did rhythmic gymnastics for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And I did that for like about 10 to 12 years. And that's how kind of I started like the journey with fitness.
Hmm.
That's how I started to like learn how like be consistent and how to like sacrifice certain things just to be able to like work out and like, put the work that it needs to be put in.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to Canada, I went to college and I started to go to the gym a little bit,
Hmm.
and I started to like fall in love with the gym a little bit. I started with like a lot of like bodybuilding kind of workouts, and then I
Hmm.
was like, this doesn't feel right. Like it just didn't align with me.
Hmm.
So I started doing more functional work, and that's when I started to like mix like flexibility and mobility and like strength, kind of like bringing back all the stuff that I did when I was young, and it just kind of like started building up from there.
I love that. So every person I've known that's done gymnastics, because I do know boys and men and women that are adults now, but they always had such, when you're a kid, like probably until gymnastics started, you had no body awareness. Like you were just a blob floating around in space. You didn't know what was happening, how to make what do what. And I feel like gymnastics kids were always really like, they looked graceful. They knew how to stand up straight. They had good posture, like all the things that were being drilled into you for the movement. And I wonder too, with that discipline, if you were being told by a trainer as a child to do this. So we listen and we do what we're told. But do you think your body movement awareness and your discipline were things that, like, when you were in college, you were able to kind of pull from your childhood and just be like, all right, I'm in a weird space right now. I'm here by myself in this country. Like, let me find where I feel like comfy and safe, which for you was like moving and using your body.
I feel that you're right on that. Kind of when I was here on my own. I mean, I did have friends and all of that, but like I found on fitness kind of like that connection with what I used to do when I was little.
Hmm.
So I did incorporate a lot of things that my trainers teach me because that kind of stuff just like kind of makes sense to me. And I
Hmm.
was like, oh, I need to do this and like I need to do that. And I was like, oh, but like what if I mix this with that? And I started just kind of like playing around, and I make fitness for me fun. So like
Hmm.
when I was going to the gym, it was not like, oh, I need to work out because I don't know, like I ate too much or something like that. It was more like I just want to kind of like relax because like I was so stressed with school. I was like this all the time. So the
Hmm.
gym really just helped me, like take a step back and just
Yeah,
take
I
time
love
for
that.
yourself. Yeah.
So you gave yourself a really healthy coping mechanism for a hard time in your life, which is
I know.
awesome
Yeah.
for sure. Before we jumped on here, I was filling Laura in because we're about 10 years and some change apart. And I told her that when I was her age, like my coping mechanism for our generation was like going to the club and like partying a little too hard, maybe 3, 4 days a week. So it's beautiful that you kind of went in this direction rather than the numbing direction. Like you tapped into your body, you started
Yeah.
giving your body what it needed to get that decompression, which I think is really wise. Like a lot of people, especially young in like a newer environment, college is such a weird, like, you feel like you're in the dryer, just getting tossed around. You're like, I don't know what life is yet. Like, I go to class, I have a little job to get some money. Like, but like, what is my purpose right now? Like, what am I doing? Did it help you to feel like you had a track of your own that you could kind of move forward with because you're getting better at things, you're learning more, you're progressing? Like, was it keeping you in balance while you were in school?
It did and it didn't at the same time.
Hmm.
It did in the sense of like it did give me like some guidance because my mind was more like clear when I had to do like work for school. But
Hmm.
then it didn't in the sense of how do I explain it? Sometimes I was just so like overwhelmed with school that all I can think about was to go move my body to feel
Yeah.
a little bit better. So it distracted me in a sense when I was really feeling overwhelmed, but it
Hmm.
helped me at the same
Yeah.
time. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And it seems like it was also, was this also around the time your self-development journey started, or was that an earlier journey for you?
No, my self-development journey started a little bit later. Because when I finished college, so like my last semester of college was when COVID started. When
Oh,
COVID hit. So like the last 2 months of my semester, I had to do everything online, and it was not the greatest experience.
yeah.
And then after that, obviously everything started to shut down, and
Mhm.
I couldn't pay rent. Like it was just like a really uncertain time, and I had a really far cousin in Vancouver, so I moved to Vancouver. And when I went to Vancouver, although I was with like family, I was just feeling like alone.
Yeah.
And that's when I started my self-development journey because like I was in a new city, I was starting all over again, alone. Like I was doing everything that I did when I got to Toronto 2 years ago all over again. But
Oh,
this time was harder just because of COVID. So I was just like so
oh,
that's when I started to find my self-development and like books and podcasts and
yeah.
meditation and all these good things.
I think there were so many things that happened during the pandemic that like took center stage. And of course, it was the illnesses and people passing away. But I love now that we're in a space where we can talk about the emotional things that happened during COVID. And I'll tell you what, there are so many people that I've interviewed that I didn't realize they started or got the idea for their business through COVID until we started speaking. And you were not the only one feeling that loss. Like I've spoken to 50-year-olds that were like, I didn't know what life was because my routine got taken from me. The thing that I relied on to feel like I had a purpose, like I was doing something, was gone. And then I was left sitting with myself. And then I started to realize like my mortality and like, what am I doing with myself? Like, I can't like keep being in the space of not liking what I'm doing. And I wonder if for you, although you have your whole life ahead of you, it probably felt daunting to have to start over again in a new space. Plus, who knows what's happening with the pandemic. Like during college, those 2 months of your college, we were still thinking by summertime we would be good. But I would imagine by the time you realized you had to move, was that around summertime when we discovered it was going to be a bit longer of a
Yeah, I
holding
think I
pattern?
moved. I think I moved to Vancouver in March.
Okay.
Um, so like COVID was like starting, like everybody was
Yeah,
starting to
just started.
realize like, oh, this is like serious. This is not
Yeah.
just like a cold.
Yeah.
Um, and I do feel that like a lot of people felt the same way I did. But although because we were all like on our homes,
Hmm.
nobody could really cope with anybody. So
Yeah.
it was just hard for everybody, I think. Like even for families, like to spend all that time together in like one space is also like difficult because you're not used
Hmm.
to that. So
Hmm.
yeah.
It was a lot. It was a lot. 100%. Whew. Okay, so let's leave that behind us. What were some of the first, oh my goodness. What were some of the first books or like spiritual teachers that you were kind of drawn to where you're like, oh, this makes me feel good. This is interesting. Like, what the heck is this?
This is gonna sound very cliche, but because I think everybody talks about this book, but it's Atomic Habits. So, and I didn't even grab this book. It's really funny because I didn't even grab the book because of the context of the book. When I
Mhm.
saw the cover of the book, I was like, oh, this book is so pretty. And then I grabbed it, and then when I actually looked at what it was, I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. So I bought it, and then when I started reading it, I just everything in the book just started like to make sense to me. And I
Mhm.
started to incorporate like little by little like the habits and like the strategies that like he puts in the book. And I was like, absolutely, might as well keep trying this. And I just, it kind of just went like a snowball from there.
Oh, I love that. Did you feel a moment where you realized like you were doing it without thinking about it? Like unconsciously, like it had become a habit?
With some things, with some, like with other things, I had to like really think of like doing it. Cause like I
Mhm.
started, like for example, drinking a lot of like more water. And like for that, I was not doing it unconsciously whatsoever. I like had to had a reminder on my phone, like drink your water because I was forgetting every single time. But like I also wanted to like read every day. But like I thought about that without an alarm. I was like, oh, I haven't read today, so I went and up and I do it.
Mhm.
Um, and I think like it's like that for everybody. I think like certain habits are just gonna fall into place and like feel more natural to you,
Mhm.
and some are not, and that's just and that's fine because like we're
Yeah.
humans at the end of the day, and it's just gonna take different steps for you to get to the place you want to be because
Mhm.
we're not the same. Like things are gonna work for you that might not work for me, and
Mhm.
that's fine. Like that's totally okay.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of freedom in that once you realize that because it doesn't only apply to other people, it applies to yourself.
Yes.
Um, that book was fun for me because it just gave me permission to like kind of fuck up in my own way and then not feel so like, is everybody watching me? Like,
Yeah.
especially during COVID, everybody was like the views during pandemic were good. Like everybody was home and they're bored and they're looking at their phone and there was a lot of weird pressure there at that time to where it's like, holy crap, like I'm actually getting views. I'm actually getting like people commenting and doing stuff. But I think it's really beautiful to give yourself that space to be like, listen, I'm not perfect. No one is. I'm a team of one. I can only do what I can do. And, like with everything, we just have to like do our best and try to get like 1% better the next day. But these habits were incredible. And I do love that, although you mentioned like everyone you read the book, I'm really happy a lot of people read that book because it
Yes.
did
Yes.
it did really seem to like make a difference because people were posting it and then they were talking about it and then they were showing themselves implementing these habits and then people were getting inspired and then they were reading the book. So I did love the weird little like social media effect that came from everyone reading that book. You could feel it. You could see there was like some positivity happening in what was such a not positive time.
I feel like what was really like life changing about that book is that he really incorporated like tactics that you could use that were not like extremely difficult for you to do. Although
Hmm.
like in other books that I read in the past, it was more like the theory of it
Hmm.
without like steps to implement it. So like I think that's what Atomic Habits really like stand out to everybody because it was like, oh, I could do this. This sounds doable, you know?
Yeah. It was very easy to like read too. You were like, oh, that makes sense. It was like
Yeah, it was
preschool level,
solo.
just getting in there. You're like, oh, duh, duh, duh. Yep, that makes sense. Of course it does. Yep. There were very few things I was like, I'm not doing that. Like every part of it, I was like, yeah, I'm sure I could do this. I could try and do that. I could, try to like take out the trash when I sweep and like double stack here with some positive habits. But I wonder if what you learned from Atomic Habits, did it kind of spark in you this moment where you're like, wow, this really changed the environment for me here. Like I was in a space where I wasn't feeling empowered. I felt like I was lacking support. I have like a vision of who I want to be, and this is what I'm going to go and do to make that version of me like kind of come to life.
I feel the book itself was not what got me there. I think the book kind of like planted a seed. within me to keep putting on the work to do all those things. Because at the time, I was also working at Cactus Club, like back in the day. And that was all my respect to all the people that work in the serving industry because it's hard, it's very stressful. And
Yes.
having like this seed that was planted within me and like having to experience all this stress every day was just kind of like I had to start proving things to myself. Like, you can do this. Like, just keep pushing, just keep pushing, just keep pushing. And again, that just keep the same snowball. Just it kept going and going and going.
So you had to kind of like learn to trust yourself that like you were just going to keep doing this and getting to the next level and then getting to the next level because
Yeah.
you really like adopted and liked how this felt.
Well, yeah, especially because in my head I was like there has to be more in life than this.
Yes.
Like I have to be able to do something more than just what I'm doing and right now.
Yes.
The way I was thinking about it was more like this is just a stage in my life. And if I'm able to push through this, then I'm not going to be able to get to the next step, which is going to be a better place for me and a better place than I can provide maybe for my family back home. Like, my family has always been like a really, like a core within me to like motivate me to keep going and just be like, I have to do this for them. I have to do this for them. Like, I'm also doing it for myself.
Yeah.
But, but yeah, they're like my little core within me.
Yeah, they're your why. Totally understand. I think there comes a time in like every young adult's life, and then I'm still calling myself a young adult. I'm going to be a young adult till I'm at least 50, but I think we weren't really, we touched on this a bit before we got on, but I was really lucky to have a dad that kind of broke the mold from his family before him. And it started later in his life. I was probably 12 or 13 when he started to change, and it coincided with him getting diagnosed with a cancer that they gave him like 30 days to live with. He lived 20 years, but was very ill the entire time. But like his grit, his determination, like all of these things really stuck in me in a way that made me realize there was more to life and that getting a good job and going to work every day and coming home, it's like when money can't fix the problems that mean the most to you, like your loved one's health or your own health or your happiness, it kind of put into perspective for me really quickly at a young age that like for me all that matters is my family. I want to be happy every day. I want to like it sounds silly but like I want to be able to take my dog for a 2-hour walk because she deserves it. Like all of these things.
Little things.
Yes, the little things are all that matters at the end of the day. And I wonder if, because you're so far from your family, your why, your reason, I wonder if, the grief of them being so far from you helps you to kind of dial in on your focus and your drive for your mission and like what you're doing right now.
I mean, it does, but it's also like, it also hurts. So, like,
Yeah.
it's good, but it's not good at the same time.
Yeah.
The fact that they're far away from me does help me to, like, focus more a little bit because it's a constant reminder that if I keep working and doing what I'm doing right now, I'm gonna be able to bring them closer to me faster.
Yeah.
So, it is like a constant reminder. I obviously miss them a lot, but
Yeah.
as in right now, again, it's just a stage, and I have to push through
Yep.
the stage to get to the next step.
Yep. 100%. They will be here before you know it. I have no doubt.
Yes.
You, no, no, no. Hand to God, it's happening. And it's happening soon because let's like transition into your career. I love what you're doing, guys. You're going to click the link in the show notes. You can go visit Laura's Instagram page. It's beautiful. I love how simple it is to look at. I know exactly what you're going to tell me in your video because you like label it so beautifully. It's clean, it's aesthetic. But the cool thing is, man, mobility. And we talked about you having your life as a gymnast early on that probably gave you some sick body, not only body awareness, but muscle memory to where you're like, nope, I know how to do this. I got that. But Laura and I were discussing before we started taping that I became obsessed with her pistol squat breakdown. She's kind of showing you how you can get started from the very beginning to be able to do this. This is something I've been attempting to do for decades now, and I cannot, not cannot, I am not able to achieve it at this present moment. But with this video alone, I've been able to make incremental gains to where the leg doesn't feel as dire, like I'm going to snap my hip in half. I don't feel like I weigh 5,000 pounds and like the gravity of the earth is like
Pushing
squishing on me when I'm trying to stand back up again. So I just love that you're micro focus on the muscles, on the placement, on moving your body. Like you discuss things in such an intimate yet informative way that for the people that have, maybe been on the journey for a little bit and now they're ready to focus like really, really keenly on the form and the purpose. It's like they've gotten past the point of like wanting to work out every day. It's like, yeah, I can get up and I can work out, but now I know that like I need to work on my hip mobility or I need to work on my shoulder range because I'm not able to like do
yeah.
the certain things that I want to do because of stiffness and like freezing. So but across the board, from beginner to expert, you are absolutely going to find something within Laura's content, as well as this beautiful guide that you have coming out. By the time you listen to this episode on Thursday, it will be live. So also click the link in the show notes for that. But tell us a little bit about what went into building out kind of your repertoire for what you did want to show your audience was how you do health and fitness.
Okay, so that's a complex question. Um, so I think when I started my Instagram, I it started just with the idea of me wanting to post like more approachable content to like the like to people in general. Because like I personally found that like I'm not the person that can squat like thousands and thousands of like pounds. Like like I like the more like functional approach to it, and I wasn't be able to find like an influencer that I could follow that like could give me like easy steps to like start, but like just help me move my body better. So I created Grow With Me just to kind of like give that to people and just kind of give them like a more approachable way to fitness and like little steps, and also with self development to like let them know that like it's okay that you cannot do certain things as in right now. That doesn't mean you're not gonna be able to do them later on. You just have to, like you start somewhere, work little by little, and by the point you realize, oh, you're doing it now. Like I wanna like motivate people with my page, and I wanna give them something to look at and be like, oh, I could do that. I can start there. I can do that. Because like what you were saying with the pistol squat. Like I know the pistol squat is like a more like complex exercise because obviously it's a lot of like pressure on your hips, your ankles, and like you have to have the strength to actually get your body up from that position. But it's also like break it down. Like I know that like people see this exercise and you're like, oh, it looks so complex, but like you can work like certain aspects in your body to work towards that. So like if you cannot go all the way down, it might be because you have like tightness on your calves and your ankles, and you cannot really get that ankle on your angle on your ankle to get all the way down. But you also have to realize that you have to like work like the muscles like around like your legs and your quadriceps to get your body all the way back up. So I just wanna like show people that it's not as complex as it seems, and
Yes.
they can work towards it with like little steps, and they don't need to do this huge thing to start working towards it. Because I feel like when you look at fitness, some people have the misconception that you need to make this big change. Like, oh my God, like I need to start working out tomorrow, like an hour a day. Like, no, you as long as like you can literally just go to the gym, show up. I show up and left. That's better than what you did yesterday. The next day you can just show up and like stretch for 5 minutes and leave. Like it's just the little things. You don't need to do like a huge change like, right at once. Like yeah, yeah.
I love it. I will say I think they'll understand a lot better when they look at your Instagram. But the one thing about your work that I find really unique is that you're always yourself in these videos kind of giving what the perfect posture of the function of what you're doing is. Like, I can look at you and then be like, oh, that's why I can't do that because, like, she's just slightly tilted forward so that she can get that weight off of her hip to be able to pull it around and, like, just the movement aspect of things. Like, I was like, like, how am I not, like, my hip, I, like, can't get it off the ground. Like, what's going on? And it took me recognizing, like, aha, she's showing you the posture that is the entire move, or at least like where the movement that you're looking for is happening. And I love so much that you draw attention to like that little cluster of like where the move is. Like the point of the workout you're doing is this. You have such a beautiful ability to get right to the action so that new people that don't really like think about what the purpose of the move is. They're just doing it. Like I did good mornings for like 3 years before some kind soul came into the gym and was like, sweetheart, no, no, don't do it like that. This like 70-year-old man was teaching me how to do them properly. And he's like, look, you got, he's like squishing my tummy. He's like, tuck it up in here and then come
Yeah.
back here. And then, da, da, da. And I'm like, okay. But like, it takes knowing the proper purpose of what you're doing so you can do it properly. And I just thought I'm like, okay, just go up and down and I'm done. But I'm lucky I didn't hurt myself. I was using light weights, but I was doing it so poorly because no one that I'd ever really paid attention to got to the nitty gritty of it. So long story short, I love that you get to the nitty gritty of it because there comes a moment in your fitness journey where you're like, okay, like I'm on the surface level, I'm ready to learn more. And I think you for me are the perfect person that I needed to find because I'm serious, I need help
That's
with
sweet.
my brain talking to my body about what the function is. Why are we doing this? Not like you can do this. Why are we doing this? So we can do it properly.
Yeah, I feel like the body mind connection is really important, and I think that that's something you get as you're like getting more familiar with the workout or like
Hmm.
with working out in general. But once you really realize, like, oh, am I supposed to feeling like if you're doing good mornings, like, where am I supposed to feeling this? Like, what is this for? Like, what am I doing that for? Like, if you're
Hmm.
squatting, what am I squatting for? If you're deadlifting, what am I deadlifting for? It's
Hmm.
more like the purpose of it. And that's kind of why, like when I was talking about earlier, that when I started to go to the gym and I was doing all these bodybuilding kind of workouts, it didn't feel right to me because I didn't know why I was doing it,
Yeah.
right? So, and that also goes related to like why people go consistently to the gym. Because once you find your why, and like, why is it that you're going to the gym? Is it because you want to be able to carry your groceries without help?
Hmm.
Then that's what it is. It's just again, it just goes back to the little things that
Hmm.
give you more purpose to do certain things.
Hmm. I wonder if you could, your guide is coming out. It'll be out when they're listening to this, but could you walk us through what went into you kind of picking and choosing what you wanted to include in the guide? And who is this guide for? Is it for beginners? Is it for everyone? Give us all the juice.
Okay, so the idea of the guide, it started when like my first video kind of like went viral, and everybody was just asking me like, oh, like, is there a friendly option to like do this and like do that? And like I was just getting so many comments and questions about that I was like, maybe I should just address this a little bit better. And I decided to create a guide that is either for like beginner and intermediate on mobility. And Elevate is for you if you don't have a lot of time to spare. Like all the routines are designed to be 5 to 6 minutes long. All the routines are designed for you not to be able to be flexible, like right at front. Like that's something that's gonna come with you doing the exercises. Elevate is a 4 week long, so like you can use it in multiple ways, and I put that in the guide as well. You can use it like a guide, like one day and like following day by day. You can just incorporate certain exercises to your warm ups because I feel like mobility exercises to your warm ups is gonna be a game changer for your workout itself because you're
Yep.
prepping your body way better to do what it needs to do. And you're also gonna find an Elevate, which is the name of the guide, that in day 7 of each week, I'm targeting like a specific joint. Because I feel like certain joints just need a little bit more love. Like your wrists, I feel like nobody really pays attention to all the things that your wrists do. Like your wrists
As far as
carry
it goes.
everything. Yeah, like your wrists
Bad.
do so many things. They need some love. They need some love. So like there's gonna be a specific day for your wrists on that on the guide, one day for your shoulders, one day for hips, and one day for your ankles. And the good thing about the guide is that because you're gonna have it for life, like once you have it, it's yours. You're gonna be able to repeat it and repeat each week as many times as you want. So
Mhm.
like if you see me in the exercises like doing it a certain way and you can't really get that deep just yet, that's totally fine. That's when you are
Mhm.
in right now. Just keep working towards it, and next time you do it, just try to get a little bit deeper.
Mhm.
And I'm also gonna in the guy I also give like tips into like how you're supposed to like breathe, just so that you don't feel like a stiff when you're doing it, and like your
Yeah.
body just kind of feels like more relaxed. Yes, because I also feel like that's something that people struggle with. Is like
Mhm.
sometimes they're not like breathe, like holding their breath, and like they're trying to stretch, and they're
Mhm.
like if you breathe, you can like relax a little bit better.
The breathing is such an important tip.
Yes,
That also
I'm
took a
guilty of that
kind
myself.
soul telling me once at the gym. And another older man, I go super early in the morning and it, he just kind of saw my face turning bright red and he's like, "Hey, are you breathing?" And I'm like,
Yes.
this is heavy. I can't breathe right now." He's like, "Oh, no, 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 no." And then he showed me breathe in when you go up, breathe out right out.
Yeah.
Like, but that no one talks about. I devour fitness content on the internet. No one discusses the breath work needed to not only assist you physically, because your muscles need that oxygen pumping, fresh blood while you're doing what you're doing, but it also calms down your brain. So you're not like,
Yes.
this is hard, this is hard, this is hard.
Yeah.
Like you're focused on your breath while you're doing the movement. And then before you know it, you realize you're done and you're like, wow, that was great. And now I feel refreshed and calm. Like the two need to go together, or you're just having a cortisol party with no oxygen. Like it's not good. Do you know what I mean?
You could have said it better, yes. And yeah, in the guide you're gonna have two different. I give you like two different tips to like control your breathing and like how to incorporate them to the exercises and
Hmm.
like different ways to practice it. Like I really wanted to get deep into some of more the technical aspects of it. I also
Hmm.
explained why mobility is important, like because mobility literally just gives people freedom to move whatever way. Like our bodies are designed to move in so many different ways. And I feel like we just get so stiff because we're like, if you have a 9 to 5, you're like sitting all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like your hips get like really stiff, your shoulders starting to like go like around, like you need to open up that chest and like
Yeah.
like go for a walk, like so many like different things that our bodies are meant to do that in our current life we don't do them anymore, so like our joints are like, okay, we're not doing that, I guess we don't need to move that way.
Yeah.
So that's also wanted to give like exercises that kind of just give you that freedom back.
It's so smart. I will give a small story. I rolled my ankle super. It was a freak little weird accident. I stepped off of my bed like the second week of January in a way to where my ankle went inward. And I was like, holy crap, I'm going to snap my ankle. I have to force it out and just roll my ankle really bad so I don't break my leg. My whole body weight was coming down on it. And I was like, oh man, you got to throw your leg or you're going to break it. I landed. I thought I broke it. 5 minutes later, I did the toe wiggle and I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, okay, that hurt my ligaments. It's not a break. We're cool. Because I had been working out, I started working out in October for mental health, like just to get my day going in a positive manner. I work by myself all day long in my house. So, like, getting out, coming back, I needed that boost of just like, all right, down to the races. But it was those 5 months, 4 months of training 4 to 5 days a week for not even a long time. I would do like a 35-minute workout, hit the shower, and go home. It gave my muscles the foundation they needed to heal within 1 month. The bruise lasted longer under the skin on my foot than it took the muscles to go back to where they were supposed to go, not be inflamed, and then tighten back up again.
Yeah.
And I swear it's from working out and those muscles getting ripped up every day from me working them out. It was like my body was like, "Oh, girl, you went real hard at the gym today. Okay, well, let's take a break for a few weeks." Like, I was on bed rest for 4 days. And then after that, my husband was like, "Man, are you sure you want to be walking on it?" I'm like, "It feels okay." Like, I had one crutch getting it around, but the point of this is that mobility leads to longevity. Mobility leads to your body being able to do what it's supposed to do because you've given it the room and the flexibility to just get to work. And I know for sure I'd be on crutches still right now if it weren't for that very short amount of time I put into the gym before this injury happened. So I also see in your branding you're giving people longevity without them even realizing it. Like you're setting them up for the perfect frame of their body that's just going to have them being able to get up out of a chair when they're 65 without hoisting themselves out. And like, they could be 80 and still able to like take a soup can off of like a high shelf. Like these are the things you lose and you don't think about, but it starts in your 30s, 40s, and 50s to build this body that's going to carry you into your elder years, and you're still going to be able to get out and get around and do
Yeah.
stuff, live a life.
Yeah, I feel like people I think don't realize that because like when you're getting to that point, you're like, ah, my body feels fine, my body feels fine, and then you kind of just reach like the breaking line, and you're like, oh, wait a moment, what just happened?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
my body doesn't feel the same, and that's I think that's the beauty on like just 5 minute mobility routines that you can do because like you don't need a lot to do them, and it's
Hmm.
gonna do like a massive change for you and
Hmm.
for your body, and like
Hmm.
just to be able to like like open up your body. It's also gonna calm your mind. You're just gonna feel better. Trust me, you're just gonna feel better.
Hmm. And I love, do you know anything about blue zones?
Yes, yes.
The movement in blue zones is exactly what you teach. And that connected for me immediately. I was like, "Oh my God, she's doing stuff that like
I
people
just
that live to be 100 in blue zones, they're getting up, they're getting down off the floor, getting up, getting down. They're bending over, they're standing up, they're reaching, they're
Yeah,
down. Like
exactly. They're
just
moving their
moving."
body the way they're meant to be.
Yeah. Was that something that you learned about while kind of just building out your own fitness routine, like recognizing like, "Oh, wow, like this 98-year-old woman looks 70 and she can get off of the floor just fine."
When I saw the documentary, it did kind of click on me, but it really, really makes me like it started to like make sense to me when I injure myself. Because
Oh.
yes, because I have a desk job,
Mhm.
like my regular job.
Mhm.
Um, and I was just sitting for like such a long period of time that I didn't realize my body started to go like this.
Mhm.
And because of this, like all like the things on my left shoulder is starting to like crumple on top of each other. And like my back was all tight and I was like had all of this area was just like
Yeah.
tight. And I wasn't being able to like reach overhead and like I had like this really pinching pain on my shoulder
Ooh.
and I'm like, what's happening? So I went to the physio and then the physio told me it's just because you're sitting too much. You're not
Yeah.
moving your body like on that position that is supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
And after all of that happened, I had to go to physio for months. And once my shoulders starting to feel like better, I was like, okay, there's no way I'm doing this ever again. So I
Yeah.
started to like incorporate like all the mobility exercises that she was giving me, and I started doing that with my shoulders. And then I was like, well, you know what? Like all my body needs that kind of work. So I
Yeah.
moved on into like my hips and like my knees and my ankles and my wrists, and like after a couple of like weeks I was just like feeling so much better and I would like be able to like move and like in ways that I couldn't before, and I was like, you know what, this is it, this is it.
Hmm. There is a certain freedom when your fascia starts to like loosen up because you're
Yeah.
finally doing stuff to like get to it, which all of your movements, just like the little bit that I played around with, like what you're doing on your feed, like I'll try to make myself like do something random every half hour. I'll like get up. We've got
No,
a lot of stairs in my house. I'll walk up and down some stairs just to like do something instead of sitting in this chair. I can't really stand all day. I don't really like that. So I just try to make myself do something every half hour.
Yeah,
And
just
I
move
could
your body.
feel, yes, I
Yeah.
started doing your videos and I'm like, holy crap. Like just in the lower back area that's like right above your like butt cheeks, that gets
Yeah.
so tight. I could scream. I'm
When
like,
you're
oh my
sitting,
God.
yes.
But your movements, like it literally just made me remember probably what it felt like to be like 15 again, like when your body's still like rubber. You're like, you don't know the ailments of like your body and what's to come, how tight it's gonna get. But would you recommend your from the mobility guide, from the Elevate guide, would you recommend if people are at work, like do that 5 minute routine, like take that 5 minutes for yourself once an hour, like get some movement in, or like take a quick walk in your hallway and like do a little stretch or something? Like, is there anything you would recommend out of your Elevate guide that somebody could do while they're at work just to like free their body from sitting?
There's so in the guide I actually throw in a little bit of an extra routines there. I throw in four extra routines that you can do. There's two full body routines there
Oh,
that I
cool.
think that will be really good for that. Like if you just grab that and you just do it, like you get up from work and you just do it in 5 minutes and then come back, I feel
Hmm.
that will be incredibly beneficial for your day. Or
I
if
love
you
that.
just want to like do once a day for like whatever like day you're on the guide, that could also
Mhm.
be incredibly beneficial. Like the guide is just there for you to use it the way you want to do it, and that's how I designed it. Like yes, I did break the weeks in like lower body, upper body, full body, and like joint specific, but at the end of the day, once you get the guide, you know your body better than I do, so you're gonna be able to tell what your body needs that day.
Hmm.
So I think that's what the beauty of Elevate is also, because you
Yeah.
can choose how to use it, because you know your body, like you know you live in it, you have the choice, you know.
And the ability to kind of customize what you want to do and what you want to focus on is cool too. Is, maybe they do have a tight shoulder like you had. Like maybe they do have ankles that they're like, oh, whoops, these are real tight. I need to do something about this. Like some people, I think, are in a space where they really, really want to try something, but they feel limited by their lack of knowledge, their mobility. Guys, this is like if you're listening to this episode and you feel in your heart that you're ready to start moving your body, it was meant for you to hear this episode today. This
Yes.
is the perfect time to just put yourself first and just give it a go. It's 5 minutes. It's literally 5 minutes. And I promise you that if you can show yourself that you can do something you said you were going to do once, it gets easier to do the next day and the next day. Just like we were talking about in the beginning with the Atomic Habits book. You are going to be so impressed with what you can achieve in just a short period of time by you just saying yes to the idea that popped in your head that you want to start moving your body. This is the way to do it. This is the complete way to go about it. Make Life Rich movement approved. Get the Elevate guide today. You need to be doing this workout. Now, Laura, when we were off the call earlier, I can't not discuss this because I think it's so pivotal for so many entrepreneurs that are in a space where they did not take the career path that their family wants. I personally was the first person in my immediate family to go to college. I moved away to go to college. And the thing that I went to school for, social media didn't even exist. I went for PR when I graduated. So like literally my whole college career is useless. Like it went out the window pretty quickly. But it's funny, but it was so crazy when it happened. I was like, what do I do now?
Yes, I
We
bet.
don't even send telegrams anymore for PR reports. Like that's what I learned to do. It's just so wild. It's like the 60s. But I think there comes a time in every person's life that has that little birdie in their ear that's like, start the business. Do it, start the business. You're going to piss everybody off, but just do it because they don't know what
Yes.
you know. And what you know is what's right. And just charge for it and do it. And they will be happy you did it later. But for now, you might have to eat a little bit of shit because everyone around you is going to tell you what you're doing is the wrong thing. Go corporate, go be a doctor, go be a lawyer, go
Yes.
like all the things. I'm firstborn, so I got that hard. But like, are you firstborn?
And no, I'm the second born.
Okay, so yeah, are you the first daughter?
No, no, I'm the second daughter.
Okay, cool. Oh, bless you. Lucky you. The first daughters, man. Whew, we get it. But you probably got it too. Anywho, what did
I
it
think we
feel
got
like?
it.
You
Sorry, go
got
on.
it? Did you both get it? The
I
responsibility?
think we both got it, but like I got it on a different way. Cause my sister, like she was really rebellious when she was growing up.
Oh,
Like really, like she was the rebellious one, and I was like the good one,
yeah.
right? So like I had the pressure to be the good one all the time. So
Yeah.
like when I did something wrong, he was like, "Oh my God!" Like this whole big yes, like this whole
Yeah. Like,
big thing, and
you're
I'm
the
like,
calm one. What do you mean? What's going on?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So,
Sorry,
what
I cut
was
you
it?
off.
No, 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 you're fine. So, what was the reaction from your parents when you told them, like, hey guys, I'm putting effort into this thing, I'm building my business, like, this is what I do now?
Um, they didn't really took it that well.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling you about this earlier. But like my family, like they're very like traditional in that sense. Like that, the idea for them, for my life is like what you just said, like going to school, getting a corporate job, getting a good job, like getting married, having kids, like all these things are kind of like structured for you
Hmm.
to do. Um, and I was just kind of like that just doesn't like it didn't align with me. Like it was just like I have my corporate job and I'm incredibly grateful for it. Um, but some like there's something like you said in my ear just telling me you can do more than this. You can create and give more value to people doing something else.
Hmm.
So when I kind of like put that idea to my parents, they were very hesitant into like being supportive because I'm the one in my family that's kind of breaking
Yeah.
that pattern, and for them it's just I feel like their judgment, I wouldn't say judgment, but
Yeah. They're
like their
concerned.
yeah, their concern is just coming from that they haven't seen something else, you
Hmm.
know? So for them to see me see something different, it's like, oh, she's gonna be okay, she's gonna be able to support herself.
Hmm.
Like it's just that question mark for them that is kind of like
Hmm.
hard for them to swallow.
Hmm.
But I kind of just had to let them know that if I'm okay with it, they should be okay with it too.
Hmm.
Because I feel like when you start to be an entrepreneur, you kind of accept the fact that there's going to be a lot of question marks.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to have the answer.
Yeah.
But at some point, you're going to have a brilliant idea that's going to be able to solve it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard. It's
Hmm.
been hard. Um, yeah, and I feel like finding people like you
Oh,
like just
thank you.
brings I don't know, like a little bit more unity into like people that are doing the same thing, you know, and you don't feel as lonely, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
you are so talented. You were literally given this mission and this purpose. You're doing such a beautiful job with it. And I know to my core your parents are so proud of you. It's just I'm sure they've had a hard life like everyone's parents have, just being an older, different generation in life to grow up in. And I know that there will be a moment where they're able to tell you like we knew you were gonna succeed. Like we were just scared. Like everything you did was worth it, and like you'll all be celebrating together in Canada. It's gonna be so
Yes.
beautiful. So beautiful. It's coming so soon, friend. No doubt in my mind. It I have like goosebumps thinking about it because you've set yourself up with the perfect business, perfect platform. Your content is beautiful. You are very authentic and you deliver the goods. She's not hawking out like, everybody has their affiliate links. We all got to sell what we got to sell, guys. But at the heart of it, what you're getting from Laura is her journey packaged up in something that like just allows you to get right down to it. You don't have to go through the years of sadness that she had being in the gym by herself, being far from her family, having to like grind and get through young adulthood, through a pandemic, through learning how to support yourself, being able to prioritize your dream in such a scary time when everyone over 30 is telling you to make money, make money, make money, save, 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 save. Like to take this journey and to make this decision was probably the hardest one of your life. And I want to tell you that I'm proud of you and I cannot wait to see where this goes. And your purpose is clear and very special. And I'm just so excited to see what this year has for you.
Thank you. Like you're Your words literally make my heart blush.
I love that. So I ask one final question of all of my guests. Here we go.
What is it?
Laura. Laura, how do you make your life rich?
How do I make my life rich? Um, by surrounding yourself with the right kind of people. Because I feel like wellness doesn't. I mean, yes, it is about the money, but like it isn't at the same time.
Hmm.
Because when you're surrounded by the right type of people, those people are gonna be able to uplift you when you can't uplift yourself.
Oh,
And I find like you find like in your partner, your family, your friends, whoever it is, just find those people that you're like, they recharge me. They
oh,
give me energy. They just make my life better.
yeah. That's so beautiful. I
Yeah.
love that. Laura, thank you so much for coming on. This
Thank
was
you for
such a fun
having me.
convo. Guys, click the link in the show notes. You're going to go buy the Elevate Guide. You are not going to regret it. And then, do us a little favor and put up a little video of you trying it in your living room with your dogs and your children all clamoring around you while you give it a go. But I want you to tag Laura in her page and let her know what her mobility guide has done for you because I guarantee you need this. If you're listening, you need to work on your body mobility, okay? We all know the last time you stretched head to toe was at least 10 years ago. It's okay. We're going to get back in it together, and this is the perfect time to get started. So, Laura, thank you so much. It
Thank you for
was a
having
pleasure.
me.